Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It's Friday, August 15th, and we've got a special treat for you today because, Mark and I are heading out on vacation. I want to leave with a bang. We have a guest. His name is Nick Maggiulli. He is the Chief Operating Officer and Data Scientist at Ritholtz Wealth Management. Now, why is he on? Not for that job, because he wrote a really interesting book. It is called The Wealth Ladder. The subtitle is Proven Strategies for Every Step of Your Financial Life. The book is essentially a framework for understanding how to build wealth one step at a time. So what are the wealth ladders? He identifies the wealth ladders at level 1, a net worth of less than $10,000. Level 2 is $10,000 to $100,000. And level 3 is $100,000 to $1 million. If you look at the number of households that occupy those first 3 levels, it's most of the United States. The next 4 levels really take a jump up. Now, level 4 is a net worth of $1 to $10 million. That is 16.3% of U.S. households, 21 million households. Level 5, that seems a little bit nosebleedy. 10 million to 100 million, that's about 1.7% of U.S. households or 2 million households. And of course, the uber rich, that's level 6, a net worth of more than $100 million. That's just 10,000 U.S. households, and it's a fraction. It's like 0.07% of the people out there. For this program, we're going to start at level 4, but if you really want a deeper dive into levels 1, 2, and 3, you can check out the Money Watch show. We're going to be dropping an episode over there on the first 3 levels of this book on Saturday, August 23rd. Okay, if you've got a question about the wealth ladder or anything else in this program, get in touch with us. Go to jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button, write us a note. We'd be delighted to hear from you. Don't forget to sign up for the free weekly newsletter that comes out every Friday, which is today. Imagine that. Okay, here is our interview with Nick Maggiulli. I often think that people in level 3 and level 4. So again, level 3, middle class, $100 to $1 million in saved assets, like wealth. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then upper middle class, 1 million to 10 million. You could imagine there's many school systems where a lot of those people are in the same school district. And I guess I'm wondering, the thing that's fascinating to me is sometimes we find that someone who is, say, in level 3, they will look up to the level 4 people that they know, and they will feel like, I'm broke. Like literally, I only have, this much wealth, or this guy has so much more wealth than I do. And they feel bad about themselves. Whereas it seems to me that people don't do that between level 2 and level 3. I don't know if that happens. Like oftentimes when I meet working class people, they're usually like, yeah, I'm pretty lucky. I'm not in that lower class anymore. Thank God. And so is there something about like the satisfaction that someone has as they compare themselves up versus down a level?
Yeah, it reminds me of that. I don't know if there was a joke or something, but the person who gets silver looks at the person that got gold and said, oh man, I could have had gold. And the person that got bronze is like, oh my gosh, I almost didn't make it onto the podium.
That's right? Exactly right.
Yeah, it's the exact same thinking here. So yeah, I've actually, no one's ever asked me that question. It's an incredible question because I do think there is some sort of relative, it also depends where you start too. If you grew up in the upper middle class and then you find yourself in level 3 and struggling, you're going to feel a lot worse than someone who grew up, let's say, in the lower middle class and they end up making it into level 3, right? So it's always relative to your background. That's how I think everyone's going to judge themselves, like at least on some sort of financial metric. They say not to compare ourselves to others, but we're humans. We do it. I every time I post about net worth data or something, it gets so many clicks and views. It doesn't get a lot of likes because I know people want to know the data, but they don't want to talk about it publicly. And that's fair. And that's completely fine, right?
I'm going to like you. Oh, yeah. I already do.
So that's kind of a piece of it. But yeah, so I think you're completely right with thinking about that stuff. And it's really, but then people in level 4 look at people in level 5 and say, oh, that's actual wealth because then I can do this or that. And so you can keep playing this game forever if you really want to. And I've written about this previously.
Yeah. Well, I want to just talk a little bit about what happens in level 4. So now we're going to cross over the Rubicon and go to the upper middle class. which, I mean, again, this sounds dopey to anybody in levels 1, 2, and 3, because about 80% of the population in the US is in levels 1, 2, and 3. But then you go to level 4, and that is $1 million to $10 million. Actually, when I saw your numbers, I was like, oh, it's that many? It's 16.3%, according to Nick's book, that fall into the share of U.S. households who fall into the $1 million to $10 million level. What's going on for these folks, and how do we go from 3 to 4 usually?
So once again, I think most people that go from 3 to 4, they either have a higher income. So time's one piece of it, and then the income's the other piece. Mm-hmm. So the median income of a household in level 4 is about $200,000, right? Mm-hmm. That's the median household income. For a household in level 3, the median income is about $83,000. Oh. So there's quite a big jump there in terms of, just median income. And so when you look at that, you're like, oh, wow, it really is income that's driving a lot of these changes. And it would make sense, right? You have 2 6-figure earners in a household. Now it's very obvious how a lot of those households can make it into level 4. Mm-hmm. I think the big thing that happens once you get into level 4, I call this like the no man's land of wealth management or of wealth levels, because once you're in, you're basically never going to get out. That's true for most people. There's exceptions to this, but for the most part, the things that get you into level 4 are not the things that get you out of level 4. Uh-huh. And it's simply just math. And if you do the math on this, you'll realize like once you get in there, you're basically trapped in there. I'm not saying you need to get out, by the way. That's a whole separate discussion. We can get into that in a moment here. But if you just do the math, let's say you have $1 million portfolio. I'm going to make it very simple. We don't have to worry about housing or anything. Let's just say you have $1 million. It's earning 5% a year, let's say above inflation. So a real return, and you're saving $100K a year. If you do that, how long would it take you to get to 10 million? The answer is 28 years. That's 28 years of saving $100,000 after tax, a considerable amount of money, and you already start with $1 million, right?
Right.
So if the median age in level 4 is 62, let's imagine someone, at 62 median, okay, let's assume they just hit $1 million. That's a little bit different than the median age in the whole group, but let's just say they just hit $1 million and they have to do this for another 28 years. Who wants to go and work until they're 90, saving $100K a year, right? It's just not feasible. So even if let's say you even got there in your early 50s, do you want to work until you're 80 just to get to 10 million? No, most people rationally say, okay, I'll work until I have a couple $1 million, enough to support my lifestyle, and then they take their foot off the gas. And I think that's the big decision in level 4 is, do I keep working? Do I start a business or something that I could sell for a lot of money and it's worth a lot more than this? Or do I take a step back and just enjoy what I've built and maybe work on something that's more meaningful to me because I don't need money as much as I used to? Mm-hmm. So those are kind of the decision points you have, like if you're really thinking about wealth.
So how do we factor in the Lucky Sperm Club part of this, which is, for example, I'm going to just talk about like in my family, I've married into a family. There were 5 siblings. Each of the next generation has a very different outlook depending on what the parent did, right? Mm-hmm. And so whereas with my only sister, the fact that, we came from some wealth to begin with, and that gave us a big boost, that almost like jumped us over the wealth ladder simply by luck, right? So it's like the bad luck part of like, oh crap, some bad things can happen. But the good luck part, how is that factored in? Obviously, right? I mean, it's like you're already at middle class. If you come out of school and you have no debt and, your parents gave you a few bucks and, you may even start at that level. How is that factored into these levels?
So it would just be in the aggregated data. So that's kind of rare to have that. It does obviously happen, but it would just be in the aggregated data, and it's just in there already. And that includes people with inheritances, all these types of things, but these are generally quite rare. So all the data I have in the book is just every single household we have data on, and I don't do anything because a lot of times I don't even know where the wealth came from. It doesn't necessarily say, oh, our wealth came from inheritance versus this.
Right.
And even then, it's very rare that someone just has an inheritance. Most people work, and so even if they had a large inheritance, some portion of their wealth they earned, right? So it's a mixed bag usually, and you'll find the size of the inheritance varies. Even people that got a decent inheritance, it only ends up being maybe 20% of their total wealth, right? So it varies, and so the thing to keep in mind is like, yeah, I'm speaking to this assuming you don't have a large inheritance coming, you don't know about anything of that sort. If you do have that, you can obviously plan with that and kind of make this changes your thinking on it, but I think the ideas still apply regardless.
I think that what's interesting is that idea around level 4. I think that it's interesting to imagine that if you've got a few $1 million, $4 or $5 million, it's built up. We hear from a lot of those people. And sometimes there are folks who are younger. They'll be like, I'll never have that money. You only have rich people on. And it's almost like, it's a funny thing, like, because as you outline it, it starts to make a lot more sense. It's like, well, you're not figuring in some of these people did not make a lot of money their whole lives. They just started early and they kept plugging away. And as you said, you could be putting away, forgetting about $100,000 a year, but you could put away, $30,000 a year early on, and that builds up and you make more money. And then the money builds up and builds up and builds up. And then you can mitigate a lot of the bad things that could happen. And then you're perfectly happy, along with your 21 million other households, to be in that $1 to $10 million. All right, I'm ready to go to level 5, which is, I'm guessing, where you stand, Nick. And if you're not married, I'm hopeful that this conversation where we talk about you being comfortably in level 5 will allow you to find somebody new in your life.
So I actually just got married about a month ago.
There you go. So she's happy.
Yeah, but we're not in level 5. Don't worry.
How dare that? I'm going to call Barry up right now. This is outrageous. I mean,
if the firm sells for enough money, I could go into level 5, but it would have to be an astronomical valuation, at least based on our current understanding of the valuation of the firm.
Okay, so level 5, gang, is people who have $10 to $100 million. Tell us about these really rich people.
So yeah, level 5 and 6, it's less than 2% of the US. It's like 1.7% together. And level 6, there's like 10,000 people in that group, which is over 100 million. So I kind of group these two together. I did want to make a distinction between them because 100 million plus is just a completely different level of, what you can do with money. And so when I think about level 5 versus level 6, level 5, this is usually someone who, besides like ignoring like athletes who had really big contracts or celebrities, like for the most part, it's going to be entrepreneurs that sold their business or currently own a business that's worth, tens of millions of dollars, right? Some portion of a business. So there are also exceptions to that. You can think of like early NVIDIA employees who got a bunch of equity and now, it's the most valuable company in the world. So their equity is worth tens of millions of dollars. That's also in there, like early startup people that, became very, very rich through their startup getting very large. So that's mostly who's in there. And I don't talk about the money stuff as much once you get to that level. And the reason why is because we've been talking about amplification across the wealth ladder. And what I think gets amplified the most, the higher you go up the wealth ladder, is all the non-financial aspects of your life, right? Because you come to this realization that you can't write your spouse a check and make them love you.
Right.
You can't buy yourself a new cardiovascular system. Well, at least not yet, right?
Right.
So because of all this, you come to the realization that, oh my gosh, I could have way, way, way more money and I can't change these certain aspects of my life, right? And so because of that, all the money problems are kind of not really money problems anymore, right? All your problems in life are non-monetary. Think about someone in level 1, most of their problems could probably be solved by money, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But for someone in level 5 or 6, money's probably not the issue. And so I try to shift the focus of the book. And of course, the non-financial things matter no matter where you are in the wealth ladder. But I think the mistake people in level 5 most likely make is they're overlooking all the non-financial pieces. And they're going to get to their end of their life. They're going to be like, oh, wow, I should have taken care of my health more. Oh, wow, I should have done this. And it's like, yeah, you could have had, $10 million less and you would have been fine, but you chased money for what and who knows. And, you lost out as a result of that.
I get that. I mean, it's a funny thing that, you have some things in here about happiness, but I guess, being around people with money and with not so much money a lot in my life, I think that what is always remarkable is how consistent the idea is that the people who seem like grateful for where they are just they're okay. It doesn't mean you don't want to move up the wealth ladder, but to have like a little bit of like something going on in your brain to say like, okay, I got to have some gratitude here. And I know that, you really do have a lot of gratitude for where you are personally. And that absolutely comes through in the book. Tell me about what Nana and Papa did. What were they all about? I always read acknowledgments. It's a little habit I have.
So my Nana and Papa, they've been like the core structure of because obviously my parents are divorced, and I was much closer to my mom's side of the family. And I really think it's because they focus so much on family, getting us together. And still to this day, like no one in my family's ever left Southern California besides me. So they're all still there. And they're all like, they still get together like once a month for dinner and all this. And now, even with people having, boyfriends, girlfriends, kids, all this, and they still try and hold us together as a family. And I don't know many families like that have that. They're so close with their cousins and all that stuff. And so that's really their wealth and what they did. And so it really was a good example for me to be like, hey, money matters to a point, but at some point, like you can build so much more wealth and so much more with these other types of, wealth, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a great appreciation for having almost like an emotional safety net, if not a financial one. So I think that's huge. It really is. Okay, if that interview conjured up any questions, we are here for you. Just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, write us a note, and if you'd like to join us live on the air, check the box. Mark will do everything else. Don't forget to sign up for the free weekly newsletter. If you had signed up for that, you would be getting that today. You can subscribe to this show on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer and king of all things web, and we are distributed by Odyssey. Try to lift someone up. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you on Monday.